Welcome back. We left off with our Nike shoebox partly drawn. We still have yet to shade it and to put a label on the side of our box. So we're going to start with the label on the side of the box. Biggest thing about this is that the label is parallel to the side of the box. So what I'm going to do is I am simply going to go inside this area. We're not going to draw in the lid, but we're going to go inside this area here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw a label. So hopefully you drew large enough that you can put a label. So I am going to draw an edge there. Notice that edge there. And I'm also going to draw an edge here. So draw two parallel lines. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to parallel this diagonal. So I'm going to come like this. And I am going to come like, now it doesn't matter how far down you drew these because you didn't know exactly what we were doing. But what's important is that it is parallel here. So notice your frame or your label. You want it to be parallel to the side of your box. You may have some overhang here, which is typical. Go ahead and erase that. And in fact, let's take our dirty blender stick and let's just shade in the outside of our label. Notice that I'm picking lead up. If you don't have lead, you can always, again, I really like my 6B for this. So you can put lead in like this, lead in like this. Smudge it around. So it's now like, we're gonna call this interior white, your label. So go ahead and do that. Now we're going to write the label. So obviously on the label usually is where it states the size, and it may state the brand again as well. You be creative with this, but here's what's important. I'd like you to draw, I'm gonna have 2 lines of drawing, actually 3 lines. I'm gonna write Nike, size, and then a number. So to do so, I'm going to lay my straight edge diagonally in here, and I'm going to draw some guidelines. So there's for my word Nike. I'm going to drop down here, and I'm going to do my word size. I'm going to drop down here. So notice all my guidelines. Now I noticed something that you might notice, and that is these are diagonal and look good with my label. These look good with my label, but right here, I would say this does not match. I'm going to erase these because if I use those, it will look wonky. So I'm going to go back in here. Still doesn't look too good. Erase them again. And sometimes this happens. So maybe what I need to do is just freehand it slightly. Okay? So draw yourself some guidelines, and if you can freehand them in there, great. Know that a lot of these lines will be erased. Now we are going to begin writing. This is the most difficult part because being parallel, the up and down pulls, so the lines on the N, the lines on the I, the lines on the K, the lines on the E, I call these up and down pulls. So if we write the word Nike, they need to go with the sideline. So I'm going to just take a pencil and I'm going to do the N. I'm going to do the I. Notice it goes up and down with the sidewalls. I'm going to do the K. I'm going to do up and down E. Now I'm going to write the word size. So, in doing the word size, our tendency is to write sideline, but that looks funny. I want to go straight up and down, S, straight up and down, go with my line, and maybe I want to write size 7. So get your lettering in and make sure that your lettering, take a look back on it and take a look to see that the up and down pulls go with the up and down of the side of the box. And what you're doing here is perspective, but you don't really know that, but the S needs to go up and down this way, the I up and down this way, the Z goes with my guidelines, the E, thicken your letters slightly. Maybe you're going to get fancy with your lettering. And when you are done, then go back in with an eraser and erase your guidelines. Now, some of you will say, well, I can just freehand this in really easily without guidelines, and you're gonna try that method. And if you have lots of experience with perspective, you'll probably be fine. But if you don't, it will most likely look wonky. So I suggest you take the time and put the guidelines in. So you begin to do that on your box now as I finish mine up. And again, if yours is looking funny, ask yourself, are your up and down parts of each letter parallel with the up and down sidelines? Are the horizontal poles of your letters horizontal with the horizontal of your label? Sometimes the more you fiddle, the worse it gets. Okay, so now we are going to shade our box. You can probably go ahead and shade this. It's shaded just like the cubes that we did, but I'm gonna walk you through it and give you plenty of time at the end of class, which I call studio time in an art room. It's where you have time in the art studio working on your artwork. So to quickly shade this, because it's a large item, again, I like to use paper towel. So I'm going to go ahead and shade this side first. We will note that this side is probably one of the darkest sides. So I am going to lay some lead down. And because we drew this label, and we kind of shaded the side of our label already, I'm not gonna do too terribly much with that, but I'm gonna go in here And I'm gonna show the difference between the lid and the side of the box by having this darker. Again, I like my lead to go the same direction. I think it helps the overall drawing. Sometimes to get in those corners though, a blender stick is very, very useful. And just a regular eraser to clean the outside, right there. I'm then going to take, if you want your label to be white, you might just go ahead and leave it white. You might give it just a little shade, barely touching your paper towel down and using some of the lead in the lettering. You might go in here, but I like the difference of the dark and, whoops. Now we're gonna go, our light is gonna touch our box and go light and go gradually, probably medium. So again, I'm gonna rub my paper here, paper towel I should say, and I'm gonna get this really quickly. I may lay a little lead down. I probably need to sharpen up my 6B, because if you expose lead on your 6B, it will give you lots of good lead. I like to use the hand sharpener because in using the hand sharpener, it saves the life of my pencil. An electric sharpener tends to chew your pencil up and use it up quicker. And I'm going to show you a little trick here. So this should be lighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eraser, because I got too much lead on it, and I'm going to put some eraser in here, but do not blow off your eraser. Little smudging, that little smudging is awesome because it helps transition and blend from light to middle. So when you're done, of course, then you would want to wisp it off, but right now, use it to be a blending agent. Now this side of my box is probably going to be a medium shade. So I'm gonna lay some lead down, just lightly. You can keep piling it on top. Again, because it's a large area, I like to take paper towel and blend it. So I show a little bit of difference between the top of my box and the edge of my lid. And this side of my box is probably going to be slightly darker than this side because it's getting further away from the light. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to